Hi guys, Sarah, Jake, welcome to the show. How you both doing?
Hey, how's it going? I'm doing good, thank you. How about you?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks.
Doing awesome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And big day today with the launch and yeah, how you guys feeling?
I'm stoked personally. I've been excited for this day. I'm glad that it's all finally here and all the hard work is finally being showed to everyone. And yeah, I'm super stoked.
Nice,
Yeah, we
good
we
stuff.
at
What?
Dickies. We're super excited. We've been receiving so much good feedback across the board, from the content to the product, obviously, and just really excited to hear how our consumers respond to it.
And how long has it been going on for? When did the kind of like I guess the initial concept come about?
I'd say we started working on it maybe a little under 2 years ago, I'd say. It's been kind of a long process. There's been other people's collections that have been coming out previous to mine. So obviously it's kind of like a in the line situation, and more people have had theirs come out. But yeah, I'd say that the whole process from start to finish has been about a little over a year and a half, I'd say.
Nice one.
So
Cool.
Yeah,
Well,
to that point, it takes about 18 months for us to go from concept to market when working with partners, because we want to make sure that we build all the time in so that Jake can ensure that his hands get dirty and it comes out the way that he wants it to. And obviously, he's wearing one of the pieces right now, so that's a good sign that he's happy with it.
cool. Well, I'd love to kind of go into the nitty gritty of the campaign, and yeah, that trip. When you were filming over in New York as well, I just watched that,
uh-huh.
which was awesome.
Thank you.
And yeah, before that, I mean, like Jake, you're originally from Sydney over in
Yep.
Australia, right?
Yep.
And yeah, was that kind of like whereabouts did you go up there? I was living over in Manly for about 7 years, kind of.
Oh, cool. I
Uh,
actually grew up around it was kind of 40 minutes out of the city in a place called Liverpool.
okay.
So I would spend most of my weekends in the city. I'd drive in, stay at a friend's house, skate all weekend, head back for the week for school and all that sort of thing. So yeah, I don't know. That's where I spent most of my time skating growing up and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, and then when did you kind of want to? Well, I guess like make the move over to LA and
Well,
yeah,
it's always been a dream being a skateboarder to, do it in America, do it in LA. That's kind of where the hub is and where it's all like kind of based out of. So I'd say the dream has always been there, but I don't think it was really a possibility until I linked up with Dickies and New Balance and companies like that, and was able to have like the actual backing to move over to America and start my life over here, because it is kind of like a big jump. It was the first time I'd moved out of home. So I moved out of home straight to America. So it's like it's a little daunting, but having companies like Dickies, as I said, help me and be there behind me to, make sure I'm all good and everything's fine. Like that's what really makes it easier for someone like me to make the transition into like moving to another country.
and were they kind of backing Dickies? Were you working with them when you were over in Australia, or was that kind of
No, that was
it
actually
all
kind
kind
of
of
a new.
started when you went over?
Yeah, it started when I came to America, because while I was living in Australia, I was skating for a different company at the time. And then when I'd moved to America, my sponsors opened up. And then so I started skating for Dickies. And then that's pretty much right then when the partnership started and when all the help and support really started, because I knew Joe, the team manager, and that's kind of my in with Dickies. And yeah, from then it's kind of just flourished for the last 7 or 8 years.
That's awesome. And Sarah, with your background, so you were in action sports, working for different brands before sort of moving over to Dickies, and yeah, I mean you were at Burton and Vans and Backcountry as well, right?
Mhm. Yep. Yeah, I've got
And you,
a bit of an outdoor and action sports background across the board. So REI, backcountry, Vans, Burton. Really happy to be at Dickies for the last 9 months.
and what was the move like? What kind of stood out of why you kind of wanted to move over to Dickies?
Oh, it was a combination of things, really. I mean, it's from a marketing perspective to be able to work for a brand that I grew up with, first of all. So I have a personal connection, and um, boxes of photos of me from my teenage years with my 874s and studded belts and things like that. And but really, more than that, 100-year-old workwear brand who has this incredible continuum of communities, whether it's the tradesperson or the skateboarding community or the streetwear community. There's something really special about a brand when communities like that adopt it. So that was the great appeal.
Nice. And like, how was with the connection? So between like when Dickies got into skateboarding, like when was that? How far back does it go? Because this is, like you guys have just had your 100th anniversary. Was it last year? And
Yeah.
what are the kind of roots, I guess, going from workwear and then sort of moving into slightly into the skate market and sort of looking at that kind of, I guess,
it's been a better part of a 12-year history, I would say, formally. On my first day at work, actually, I joined when Dickies was hosting its first sales meeting post-COVID. So everybody was in person in Fort Worth, Texas, and I was sitting in the audience just like vigorously jotting down all the things I was hearing. And I drew a big circle around this one quote that Joe had said at the sales meeting that I use all the time, because I think it's, again, a testament to the special nature of Dickies and the communities that we serve. And it is that skaters picked Dickies, period. That's how it happened. It's a very durable product. It's something that you can ride in, you can slam in, you can get back up, dust yourself off, and go out to dinner, and it's not going to let you down. And that's why it kind of became this organic brand of choice. And I'm sure Jake can, attest to that. And,
100%.
and that to me is a beautiful thing because it's not forced. We saw something and then kind of leaned into it.
Yeah. And it definitely makes sense, right? Taking a lot of slams and Jake, kind of growing up, it's sort of, it's just one of those brands that you kind of think of, right? When you go skating.
100%. Like Sarah said, skateboarders have been wearing Dickies for an extremely long time, for as long as I can remember. Like, I've been watching skate videos, people wearing Dickies. It's like such a staple in the community that, like, I agree. Like, it just seemed to make sense for a company like Dickies to, lean into that and actually like add to the skateboarding community. Like, I don't know, I feel like it helps the community so much, like that a company like Dickies really does get behind skateboarding, because I don't know, not many people are really doing it like that. It's not just like, here's a team, this is all we do. There's so much more extra stuff that we do to like try and help the community, whether it's building skate parks or DIYs or going and visiting shops or like doing whatever. It's more of like a community thing, and like everybody on the team is down to do that stuff. Everybody on the team loves doing that stuff and being a part of the community. So it really does like help out in the long run too.
And did it kind of always start off when the skate team started at Dickies? Then it was all about the grassroots and kind of doing these kind of things, whether it was demos, right? Or
yeah, well, at the end of the day, like, we're the skateboarders and we're marketing to other skateboarders. So we're like in the eye of skateboarders. So we need to be doing what we can for other skateboarders, because if Dickies just came in and didn't do anything like that, it would just be seen as like taking and grabbing from skateboarding in the community, which I don't really believe I don't believe it's a part of that at all. It's so much giving to the community. Like, there's a skate park being built in Fort Worth, a Dickies skate park. And that's so important to the community of Texas and that specific community, And so like, it's just little things like that, well, that's not a little thing, that's actually massive, but it's things like that like, really propel the skateboarding community and like give it a good name. So,
and where are those ideas coming from? Is that kind of, I guess, working with the team at Dickies, getting everything from yourself, from all the other team riders, just everyone involved, right? Kind of
I would say it's definitely a collective. Like Dickies like in Texas definitely like, throw their weight around and they show us like what what can be done, and the skate team gets behind it, and we do what we can on our end to support their vision and like their ideas that they want to do.
Yeah, they really are. The team is part of the team. And that's how I've seen it in my 9 months here, seeing how Joe and how the entire team really shows up to support the brand, to support the initiatives, good ideas coming from every single corner. There's no shyness and sharing the ways that we can get better. And it's really, it's a beautiful relationship from what I've seen.
Like the team goes to the sales meetings, the team goes to the head office. We've met everyone in the offices, like we know the lady at the front door, like we know everyone that like is in the building. It's kind of just like it feels like a family vibe when you walk in there. Everyone's like, hey Jake, how's it going? Like, good to see you, and it's like, oh, like they actually remember me from last time, like I was here however long ago, they still remember me. And it's like so nice to have that feeling that you're like actually a part of something. And like hopefully the people at Dickies feel the same way towards the skaters, because we care about everyone in the building, because it all kind of works as one thing, and so like we help them, they help us, it all just works.
We actually have Alicia participating, who's one of the writers on our team as well, participating later today on a International Women's Month panel with some of our female executives too. So just another example of where,
exactly.
We're really stoked to be able to have the team represented at every level of the organization, internally and externally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. And kind of like getting everyone involved, and like obviously, if the skaters are going to be representing, like having their say, giving feedback, and then vice versa, it's kind of it just builds it out from there. And like with the new campaign, I'd love to kind of get a bit of a understanding of where like some of the ideas came from, like with the 90s like theme. Was that kind of like personal kind of influences growing up and stuff like that over in Oz?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, like the era of skateboarding and like the era of time that I really like and idolize sort of thing is kind of the early 90s to the mid 90s, that's just kind of like the skateboarding that I grew up on. And so that's what I hold like close to me. And so I had the chance to be able to like emulate and put my own touch on that type of thing through the collection. So it was nice to be able to have like a bit of creative input to kind of, I don't know, show what I'm into and like the time period that I'm into and stuff like that. And I'm hoping that it seems from some of the comments that people understood like the general direction that we were going for and have called that sort of thing out, and like another big influence is Wu-Tang. I've been on a really big Wu-Tang kick lately. And so that definitely had some like inspiration towards it as well.
And that kind of all shows, like through Dollar Slice.
For sure. I'm glad you think so.
Yeah, like looking back, I mean, that was sort of, I don't know, like the era that I kind of grew up skating was like around sort of like mid 90s and stuff, and kind of like London era, and it was sort of like just that whole big,
it's the same thing over there.
Baggy pants and
a city vibe, because the same in Australia as well. It was all just city vibes, and that's like what I grew up on as well, growing up skating in the city. So it's like it was just my way of kind of like throwing it back to that time period,
That's cool. And then kind of like jumping on the subway, trains, buses,
exactly. Yeah, it's
just kind of getting from spot to spot, and
that's how you do it in New York. That's how it's done. So it just had to be incorporated,
Yeah, that's cool. And what other like events and sort of things like, so now kind of that it's out, like where does it sort of go from here, and what have you got planned for the launch? And
well, personally, I'm just going to be doing my best to advertise it myself, and then Dickies is doing their part. That Dickies Skateboarding has their Instagram channel, who's obviously going to be pumping it out there to everyone. I also actually have a New Balance colorway coming out, which we just shot the ad campaign. I'm wearing my whole collection with the white pants and the gray sweatshirt and everything like that. So that's hopefully going to be featured in the next Thrasher magazine. So I don't know, just trying to kind of spread it out, and kind of any little thing that I have to do, if there's an interview or a podcast like this or something, like wear something different so that I can get the collection out there in all different avenues. And then, so kind of just trying to pump it as much as possible, just because I'm proud of it. I'm proud to be able to work with Dickies, and I'm like excited to show it off to people. We've worked hard on it, and I'm stoked.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, like, did you ever think that you would be like doing this kind of collection? You sort
No
of
way.
thinking back like a couple of
There's
years.
no way. Like, maybe thought like, oh yeah, it'd be cool to design a graphic for a t-shirt or something, or like, you know, maybe one day it'd be cool to like make a pair of pants that fits exactly the way I want it, let alone 3 pairs, 2 pairs of shorts, 2 t-shirts, 3 sweatshirts, a jacket, you know, like everything under the sun, everything you could possibly need for like kind of any weather. Definitely didn't think that this would happen, but obviously extremely grateful for the opportunity, because it pretty much is a once in a lifetime opportunity and not many people do get it. So definitely grateful.
And Sarah, speaking with the team, and was Jake, you know, was he just a sort of standout, and he was a prime candidate to kind of do this type of collection with?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing about Dickies, and again, the relationship that we have with Jake and the broader team, Dickies is treated often just like a blank canvas, right? Our products are pretty simple, in the sense that they can be styled in so many different ways, which I think is really key into what I said earlier about that sort of broad community adoption, and Jake's vision and his personal aesthetic and his story, and how he kind of interwove his Australian roots into that, plus the 90s vibes, plus just the things that he's into, and Wu-Tang as an example. It's a fresh take on the brand. He pulled from some of our, you know, most iconic nodes to the brand in his collection as well. So there's some of those things that just create a really nice continuity, but really with a personal stamp on it.
And Jake, were you kind of going back into the archives when you were looking at things and just checking out different collections through the years and stuff?
A big thing with this whole collection is I didn't just want the clothes to emulate the 90s and then everything else just be like it looks like today, you know? So I went into the archives. I looked at old Dickies ads. I tried to kind of see what Dickies was doing around the time of the 90s and stuff like that, and how their ads were laid out. So like to try and see how my ad would be laid out in Thrasher. And then, you know, like Sarah said, Dickies is a lot of the stuff is very simple and I like simple clothes. So it was extremely nice to be able to look at the previous silhouettes that Dickies has, like the Eisenhower jacket, and to be able to just put a little touch on it, you know, something. It's nothing too crazy, but it just adds my own little personal touch to such a classic silhouette.
And how does that work between design and marketing, Sarah, and kind of, I guess, getting that balance right between sort of shifting between all the different departments? And
yeah, we call ourselves a triad, which means that we just work together throughout the entire process. So we want to make sure that we have all the inputs and those insights that come at those early stages when Jake's going through the archives and it's pulling through in the final designs. The story of the collection so often exists in some of those small nuggets that otherwise, if we weren't getting involved until it was ready to launch, we might miss those things. So we definitely work with product, with marketing, and with our sales organizations across the globe throughout the process over that 18-month period of time. Not, you know, in lockstep the entire time. We kind of come together, we go away, come together, go away, but we make sure that the story tracks along. And Jake and Joe, our skate manager on our side, are, you know, consistent through and through with both the product and the marketing teams as they're building the content and the stories as well.
And how do you balance your time, Jake? Like between that, like, and obviously skating and then kind of working in-house on.
I mean, honestly, everyone at Dickies is so easy to work with. It's kind of just like a lot of the process is done by email. And so it's kind of just a lot. I mean, sometimes obviously things need to be answered in a rush, but for the most part, it's just like, you know, get back to me when you can. I know everything's busy, but like, obviously when you can is nice. But for the most part, like that was my top priority at the time that we were doing all of that stuff. So like that came first. If I was doing something and I got an email, it was straight to the email. I need to worry about doing this, because at the end of the day, like they're at Dickies working 9 to 5 on this collection. I'm like out here skating, doing whatever. Like yeah, I can take 5 minutes to reply to this email about my collection that I'm going to be wearing, you know, like it's all right. Like it's, I don't know, like I said, it was kind of my main focus at the time because it is so important.
Yeah. And then when it becomes a priority, right, it's kind of, you can put like other things aside. I mean, was before, would that be like, I guess sort of back in the day would be, you know, getting coverage, getting covers, and
Yeah,
then
exactly.
now sort of like then switches to that whole social strategy, making sure you're getting the best clips out there possible, and that's sort of reaching your audience and the audience of the companies that you're working with as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's a tough ball game to balance, but I don't know. We make it happen. It definitely doesn't happen solo, like with Joe and Sarah and people behind the scenes at Dickies. Like that definitely makes everything a lot easier for someone like me to be able to do my job. So.
And Sarah, would you say like with this approach, was this something similar that you were doing with like the likes of Burton or REI or Backcountry when you were doing these kind of, I guess, team kind of collaborations? Would it be something similar that you kind of then took over, or?
Yeah, I would say any place that I've been where there's an athlete program associated with it, we definitely try to be intentional about giving the athletes a voice and a perspective across the product because the consumers want that. It's certainly, you know, the content on its own and having a program to amplify the writers through Dickies is one thing, but to have a product that has the experience that Jake has built over his entire career, literally woven into it, is a unique opportunity for any brand that's invested in sports and in athletes. And I encourage more brands to be invested in sports and in athletes because I think it sends the right message, but it's also a great way to keep your product innovation pipeline going because great ideas come from people who are using and putting our products to task as sort of power users. And I would say that Jake certainly falls into that category.
And like, would you say this would be like definitely a highlight then, Jake? I mean, looking back on your skate career and
100%. This is like I said before, this is an opportunity that like not many people get to experience. So like, yeah, for sure. And yeah, I don't know. There's something cool about designing clothes. Like it's not something that I do really ever, obviously. So yeah, I don't know. It's definitely like a big highlight. I would definitely like, if someone asked me what one of the highlights of my career has been, it'd definitely be having my own personal Dickies line for sure.
Sick. How does it compare living in LA
to living in Sydney?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big change, but at the same time, it's different, but at the same time, it's the same because I am kind of just in the same groups of people with skateboarding, if that makes sense. Like I'm kind of just still around skateboarders doing the same thing I'll be doing in Australia. It's just the setting has changed and I'm not around like my original friends and family, you know, I'm kind of just around different friends and new family. So, but the only real difference is it's a lot harder to skate out here just because of how many skateboarders there are and how many people are actually like really doing it. So get to a spot, a lot of the tricks have been done, you know, but back in Australia, there's not as many skateboarders who are really like trying to push themselves and do it. So there's a lot more tricks that are open at the spots. So.
And would you find like, is there more motivation over there? You kind of just feel like you're more pushed maybe, or there's more people driven
It's always been like a little different. Like obviously the whole dream was that I was chasing was to live in America because that's where everyone was doing it and I wanted to be a part of that. The older I get now and the more that I kind of settle into my life, the more I kind of think like, oh, it would be nice to go back to Australia every now and then and skate there because it would be motivating because I'm not doing it so much. You know, like when you do something every day, you get over it, obviously. So now that I haven't done it there for a while, I didn't go back for 3 years over COVID. Just went back for Christmas last year. And it was so like motivating to be like, all right, I want to go out and skate. All these spots feel new to me again because I haven't been here in so long. You know, it's not just like I've been here every day, whatever. So, and that's how I'm feeling about LA at the moment. I'm like, been here every day. Just want to go back to Australia and like skate new stuff again. So, you know, the grass is always greener.
And where does it go for Dickies? I guess with skate going forwards, what's the plans? If you can, if you could tell us anything that's obviously not top secret stuff, but
yeah, we remain incredibly committed. This is a bright spot for the brand in so many ways. I think, we mentioned the skate park opening that's coming up in Fort Worth here in just a matter of, let's see, the calendar, matter of weeks, really. So, continuing to support the community in a variety of different ways will remain our focus. Continuing to work with our riders to leverage the Dickies platform as a creative expression platform for them through product, through content, through all the innovative ideas that they bring to the table daily. Again, this is in so many ways, it's a 100-year-old brand. If you think about this being a program that we've, sort of formalized over the last better part of a decade plus, this is just the beginning.
And it's like pretty exciting times with the skate park as well. What have they built there?
It's an incredible park. We're really excited to see it open at the end of April here. And it's the first park in the area, public skate park in the area. So as we mentioned before, this is an incredible gift to the community to have a place like this, to be able to use day in and day out, something that didn't exist. We just heard about Jake's story with LA and Australia, and just finding spots can be difficult. Imagine a place that just didn't have a skate park in the first place. There's so many of those places. So if we can start to chip away at that in our own backyard, it's absolutely the right place for us to start. And I have nothing but high expectations for walking or driving past it every time I'm there and seeing dozens and dozens of people taking advantage of it, as they should.
It's going to be cool to see. And also, is there any kind of like with Dickies? I mean, it's such a renowned brand within the US, and overseas as well. With that kind of globalization strategy, is there sort of plans in place for either kind of looking at new markets or and specifically, I guess, within the skateboarding division, whether it's over here in Europe, in Australia, or like Australasia, Asia?
Yeah, we are having very active conversations with our teams in Europe and in Asia. Specifically, Japan is an area that I know we have a lot of energy and excitement around this program, and finding ways for us to scale it globally through our partnerships and our footprint in those markets already. So I would say not necessarily new markets for the brand, but ways that we can leverage the skate program to go deeper into these communities where they exist in those specific markets. That's absolutely front and center for us, and a huge opportunity.
Yeah. And Japan's been booming with skating, I guess last couple of years, when it was sort of super frowned upon and kind of underground, just from, I guess, more like with the cultural kind of acceptance of it, right? Whereas almost how they were looked at as vandals, how it was 20 years ago or longer. And it's kind of has been
the interesting thing. It has, and the interesting thing about Japan, I would say Japan and Europe, actually, when it comes to the opportunity with Dickies and skateboarding in those markets, skateboarding really straddles the line of workwear, true hardcore workwear, and lifestyle. Because skate has been such an influence on, fashion and lifestyle at large, and streetwear. But those who are skating in Dickies are not sitting idle. They are, again, putting that product to task, and it's a really nice way to bridge workwear and streetwear in markets that may lean, which ours do, more so towards the lifestyle side of the brand in Europe and in Japan. So it's a great way for us to infuse more workwear in an authentic way through our communities that exist there, that we know are growing and growing and growing. So we're really looking forward to seeing where this program can take the brand.
And are there any trips coming up, Jake? Were you going to be heading over with the team anywhere?
Yes, there are actually a couple of trips coming up. Ireland in, I believe, 5 days.
Yeah, or something. 1 week. I was going to say 1 week.
Am I allowed to talk about this? I don't want to blow out anything that isn't allowed to be talked about.
Good quality check there, Jake. So we are doing a pretty exciting collaboration, and we will not name it just yet, but
Okay.
Excited to have Jake going over to Ireland to
Okay,
work
cool.
with some partners out there.
And then some other European trips further on down the line too.
Cool. Nice one. Good stuff. And if people want to kind of find out about what you guys are up to, yeah, and if they want to find out more about the Dickies collection, how can they do that? What's the best way of getting in touch?
You can actually personally hit me up on my Instagram. I'll reply to anyone who's asking about the collection or anything for that matter. But pretty much through social channels, I'm going to be posting it on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all that sort of thing. And then Dickies Skate, they're all going to be posting about it. Thrasher's posted about it. You know, there's multiple outlets for you to check it out. Obviously, the collection's on the dickies.com website. So it's all there, and there'll be links floating around everywhere, all through the socials and everything, and making it easier for people to, you know, find it and be able to purchase if they like.
Yeah, just doubling down on that, dickies.com. If you're interested in purchasing the collection, I definitely encourage you to do so. If you're hearing this in Europe, it's dickieslife.com. So you can check it out there as well. So I've already added some items to cart, so maybe people are going to have to work fast on that before they run out.
Definitely.
Good stuff. Well, Sarah, Jake, thanks so much for coming on the show. It's been awesome chatting.
Thank you for having us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. And yeah, can't wait to jump into the cart as well. Be heading over.
Yes.
There.
Thanks so much.